Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Vladimir Putin has threatened a harsh response if attacks continue against Russia, hours after Russian missiles struck several Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv. The attack comes days after an explosion on the Kerch Bridge, which links mainland Russia to the annexed Crimean Peninsula. President Putin had called the attack on the bridge as an act of terror. Dozens of missiles launched reportedly from the Black Sea hit Kyiv, which came under attack for the first time since June. Several people have been killed in the attacks. Moldova has summoned Russia's ambassador to explain why missiles launched into Ukraine crossed Moldova's airspace. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has accused Russia of trying to wipe his country off the face of the earth. He will be holding talks with G7 leaders tomorrow.
Маємо справу з терористами, десятки ракет, іранські шахіди. У них дві мішені – енергооб'єкти по всій нашій державі. Київщина і Хмельниччина, Львів і Дніпро, Вінниця, Франківщина, Запоріжжя, Сумщина, Харківщина, Житомирщина, Кіровоградщина, південь держави. Вони прагнуть паніки і хаосу, хочуть знищити нашу енергосистему. Вони безнадійні. Друга мішень – це люди. Чому саме такі удари? Ворог хоче, щоб ми злякалися, щоб люди побігли, але бігти ми можемо тільки вперед і демонструємо це на полі бою.
Investigative results speak to the fact that it was a terrorist attack aimed at destroying a critical piece of civilian infrastructure of Russia. And it is also evident that the terrorist attack was ordered and organized by the Ukrainian security services.
All right, let's get your latest from Russia. NBC's Cal Perry brings us the latest.
So this was a massive volley of rocket fire striking across the country. At least 83 rockets and or drones reported by Ukrainian defense officials, some 41 of them shot out of the air. So about a 50% rate there of shooting out those rockets and drones. The other half, of course, impacting their targets. Some of those targets, residential targets. You can see there on the left side of your screen, or excuse me, on the right side of your screen. That is aftermath from the Capitol here this morning. At least 8 people dead in the Capitol, another 24 wounded. We're told that there are still some people stuck under rubble. Rescue services obviously trying to make their way to those scenes now. To the eastern part of the country, the city of Kharkiv taking a number of strikes as well. The city of Rivne in the center of the country, at least 5 dead there. That death toll expected to rise. And all the way to the west of the country, the city of Lviv, normally a calm city, some hundreds of miles away from the fighting. Strikes taking place there, hitting infrastructure targets. The power in that city at this hour, we understand, is out. Right now, where I am in the capital, the streets are deserted. People are huddled in the subway. The mayor says he expects more attacks to take place. As you said, these are the first strikes in and around the capital since June. That was the last time we had these strikes. This follows that strike on the bridge in Crimea. People expected there to be some kind of reaction, but this is a very, very large response indeed.
All right, joining us now to take this further is Sergey Dvoryanov, president of the International Diplomatic Club in Russia. Thank you so much for joining us. Is President Putin coming under pressure after the attack on the Kerch Bridge, which was a bridge that had been ordered by President Putin?
Of course, everybody understands completely and very clearly that attack to the bridge was after the birthday party of Vladimir Putin. And Ukrainian side, they informed before that they prepare some special gift to our national leader. But right now we can see that all the world full of violence, and we can be in agenda to create peace if we will be smart and patient. And for example, Lev Tolstoy told about ahimsa, and his ideas was received by Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi did a big achievement through his non-violence movement. Right now, I'm completely sure that all the leaders of the countries who has a nuclear power weapon, they should be in discussion in some peacemaking process on the round table to not use nuclear power weapons. That is the main agenda. And regarding today news. Of course, it's bad news, but it's expectable from all the activity from Ukraine side. That's why my opinion that we should be more smart, more patient, and try through mediation activity. For example, global peacemaker like India is a country well known according to the tradition of Ahimsa, non-violence movement, to create peace between Ukraine and Russia. And I am completely believer to peace that peace can be created through negotiation and discussion.
All right. Now, coming to the lack of support for President Putin globally, how long can he really sustain this war? Urgent meeting of the G7 has been called in. President Zelenskyy is going to be addressing the G7. Do you think President Putin has the wherewithal to continue with this conflict, considering the amount of support that is coming from G7 and other allies for Ukraine?
First of all, we have a lot of institutions, not only G7. We have the G20 in Indonesia, and as you know, the government of Indonesia already start to make some order join to the BRICS. We have a BRICS institution like Intergovernment Union, and we should use all possibilities to create peace. Because we cannot do anything with peace between Russia and Ukraine right now without mediators' activity. That's why I especially came to India right now in New Delhi during these hard times. And yesterday we did some conference which we dedicate to this topic. And I'm patriot of Russia, of course, but I'm also a patriot of peace. And I'm ambassador for peace under the umbrella of United Nations. That's why I completely believe that global leaders will help to Vladimir Putin to make some proper decision. And we are one family. In Indian traditions, you know this very well, this shloka, that we are one family, all nations is one family of God. We should remind to all politicians today that we are one family, that it should be one, only one agenda. It's a modern age. That is my strong opinion.
All right. Thank you very much, Sergey, for joining us. I'll request you to stay on with us. We also have a report from war-torn Ukraine. Our Europe editor, Sanjay Suri, is reporting from there, where he identifies a further fissure in the culture of the two neighboring countries since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine seems to vehemently reject everything seen as Russian. Take a look at this report.
The differences between Moscow and Kiev now extend far beyond the battlefield. They've entered into people's homes, into their minds, into their lifestyle, the language they speak, the books they read, the songs they listen to, the food they eat. Everywhere now we see a return to what are believed to be Ukrainian ways and a rejection of everything seen as Russian. Russian and Ukrainian culture, so integral once, have now split and fallen apart, or are being split and thrown apart, and that gap is widening by the day.
After the beginning of the war, a lot of people that was, for example, communicating between each other in Russian language. In a moment they forgot that Russian language, and in nowadays they are talking only in Ukrainian.
His sketches speak of an angry separation from just about everything Russian. This bookstore in Kiev appears at first glance not to stock any Russian literature at all. But a shelf does appear in the far corner with a warning that this is old stock and that the sale proceeds will go towards the armed forces of Ukraine and not for any profit for the bookstore. The war is shaping everything. It is shaping lifestyle. It is shaping fashion. Ukrainians are now invited to buy with the sense of a nation at war, that everything you do, everything you wear must be a statement for Ukraine against Russia and against the invasion launched by Putin.
And Sanjay Suri also traveled across Kyiv as threat of a nuclear attack looms large. He found that metro stations have been repurposed to be used as bunkers if needed. Also, he found out that Ukrainians are resorting to humor to keep their spirits high even in these trying times.
This is the Arsenal metro station in Kyiv, and we're going to go down to the metro, and as we will see, this is no ordinary station. It's a long way down this escalator, and why wouldn't it be? This is the deepest metro station in the world, and by far at 105.5 meters. Not all metro stations go down as deep as Arsenal, but the others are pretty deep as well. The metro in Kyiv is one of the deepest that there is anywhere, and everywhere it appears to double as shelter for people, not just for people in government and people at the top in government, but people anywhere. This little coffee shop opened on this busy street in Kyiv just a couple of months back, and on the pavement here you can tell why the fragrance of that coffee is most inviting. We have to step in maybe for a cup of coffee and to hear from the young couple who runs it just what it took to open this coffee shop after closing their coffee shops in Kherson under Russian occupation. Did the Russians stop you from doing business? Was your lifestyle changed? What then changed every day?
We had to quit our business because we had no milk, no coffee, no products.
How did you leave? And when did you leave? And was it easy to come away?
Yes, it was very difficult. We were leaving Kherson for 72 hours, and we had to pass 62 checkpoints, and we had to sleep in the fields, and we had almost no food.
Ukrainians have come up with a new defense in this war, and it's not a new tank or an aircraft or a missile system or deeper underground bunkers to hide in, or even more stocks of hiding. Those have sold out in the face of a fear of a nuclear attack. The new defense is something called laughter. Little groups gather here and there to laugh it all off. This group here has gathered to listen to Anton Timoshenko.
Anton, how you become so enlightened? It's yoga, no, it's Russian bombs. A special course in Kharkiv. Whoa, I feel so alive now. That's nice.
So Anton, when everyone's crying about the war, why do you need to laugh about it?
Because what else we can do when we have so difficult times? Laughing is a good way to escape.
All right, that is Sanjay Suri reporting from Ukraine. We're also getting a statement now from the Ministry of External Affairs, and this is on the latest round of attacks by Russian forces against Ukraine. Remember, at least 85 missile attacks have been launched, and the MEA spokesperson in India is saying that India is deeply concerned at the escalation of this conflict, including targeting of infrastructure and deaths of civilians. We reiterate that escalation of hostilities is in no one's interest. We urge immediate end to these hostilities, an urgent return to the path of diplomacy and dialogue. India stands ready to support all such efforts aimed at de-escalation. A lot of reports are now coming in. We're also seeing a report from NATO chief condemning this latest attack on Ukraine. We'll keep track all of this for you, and Sanjay Suri will continue reporting from Ukraine. But for the moment, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll shift our focus to protests in Iran, which enter a fourth week now, with close to 185 people, according to human rights groups, being killed. We'll be joined by Ambassador K.C. Singh, former Indian ambassador to Iran, right after this break. Stay tuned.